Thank you, sweetie. Can this marriage be saved? So we're talking about a deep level of intimacy, right? So this is a clip from a show Gigi and I did some time ago. And you're going to learn some more about how to assess whether you want more intimacy in this relationship. And if you do, then how to accomplish it. So we hope you enjoy it.
So Susan, I know that you offer skills that allow people to really shift the way they think, listen, speak, and act in marriage. What do you feel is the most important of these?
You have to shift the way you think. I can give you the verbiage. I can practice the verbiage with you so you sound authentic to a certain degree. But if underneath it all, your energy is the energy of judging and blaming and shaming and right and wrong and good and bad and all that, there's no way that you're going to really be able to motivate your partner to a new level of communication and intimacy. So you've got to shift the way you think. And of course, I teach a number of skills that allow you to do that.
I love that. There is that golden way of rethinking everything for getting the results that we want.
Yeah, there better be, because the way we've been doing it for thousands of years doesn't work very well. You know, that's why we have all these wars. So we better know that there's another alternative, and there really is. You know,
that's on a higher level, but boy, isn't that the truth?
Yes, you don't have to be nuclear.
Now, I'm curious. What is the number one desire that people have when they really begin this reconciliation work?
My husband doesn't listen to me, or my wife doesn't hear what I'm saying. So it's the need to be heard. It is number one, number two, and number three, your need to be heard, to have your partner really listen. Not listen and be prepping what they're going to say next. Not pretending to listen, but really going, but really listening. That's what's missing. And again, we'll talk about this tonight, but in the six-part conversation that Fred showed a little bit earlier, there is that part where you reflect back what you've heard. Thank you, Fred. I really appreciate that. So reflection, where you really have a chance to say, would you be willing to let me know what you heard me say, so I know if I was able to be clear, and know in advance that very few people can rattle it right back to you. And so then clarification is where you say, thank you so much, I can really see that I wasn't sufficiently clear about such and such, as opposed to, you're a jerk, you never listen, which is the way some people, think that they can communicate and get what they want. Doesn't work.
That's huge,
So
isn't
it's listening.
it? Oh, just to be heard, listen, and be open for it with that empathy.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Susan. I know also, I'm really curious, you developed a skill set that you call marital mediation. Please describe what that's about for us.
Yes, in mediation, there's the third party, me, the mediator, and the mediator's job is to let each person speak. The problem with traditional mediation is, let's say for some reason Gigi and I had some argument about something, which we have never had in 9 years, but let's just say, okay? And there's a mediator sitting at the table, and so what happens in traditional mediation is the mediator says to Gigi, what's your problem, what's your complaint, what's bothering you, or some subtle description of that, and Gigi then talks to the mediator. Oh, she's an idiot, she's a jerk, she didn't do this, she didn't do that, right? That's traditional mediation. Then the mediator would look at me and say, well, what do you want to speak about? What is it that you'd like to be heard, about, and what it up? And then I would just say the same thing. She's an idiot, she's a jerk, she doesn't do this, she doesn't do that. You can see it's just like therapy. It's why therapy has such a tiny, tiny percentage of success in turning around marriages. Same reason with mediation. Now what I do is completely different. Using Marshall Rosenberg's reframing and recontextualizing, which is the basis of nonviolent communication, I do exactly what he does, and then I've added another step to it. So what Marshall does is, let's say Gigi would complain, then Marshall would translate that, and he would say, so it sounds as if you're feeling very, very frustrated because you needed X, and you feel really annoyed because you needed Y, and you feel really, really disappointed because you thought that you had an understanding and you were going to get Z. And then he'd work with that person, and the other party, would be sitting there and hearing it, and he would be inclusive, and it has a huge result. But in marital mediation, I took it one step further. You do not want to keep paying me, the mediator, every month, every year, every decade. You need to learn this stuff for yourself if you've got children. So I took it one step further, and I offer either or both of these partners the ability to learn how to do this. So when they're in mediation, they see the way that I'm translating it. They make notes, so they begin to have these skills. And then outside of mediation, I train them. And it's fabulous because the children don't get treated like volleyballs anymore.
We hope you enjoy that, and I just found out a word is missing. So I'm just giving that to Gigi. And there we go.
Perfection, once again. Thank you, Susan.
Not perfection at the first time, but
Well, now.
thank you for your patience and the look behind the curtain.
Now, moving forward, I know that some people enjoy a lot of affection, like hugging, kissing in public, etc. And some people just really prefer that privacy. So how can you solve this issue, and really, can the people still have intimacy?
This is so great because it's a question that proves that when somebody is asking that question, they're asking the wrong question. If you understand that the tantric lock, a relationship with a sexual partner, is about two merging into one, right? So if you get that it's about two merging into one, then if you are one with this other person, and this person loves to walk down the street holding your hand or hates to walk down the street holding your hand, you are going to just go with the flow. Sometime you'll do it one way, sometime you'll do it the other way. It's not going to be a big deal for you. If, however, one of you is Bob and one of you is Linda and never the twain shall meet, then it's going to be what I hear from lots and lots of couples. And it's not just about this one thing, it's about 53 million things. I like to do this, he likes to do that. We can't get along. I like to do this, he likes to do that. We can't get along. She's this and I'm that. But there's no union on that phone call. There is a person who's still as separate and individual now as he or she was before they met each other. But in the United States and most countries, there's not arranged marriages. So you're not marrying somebody because someone has a gun to your head, God forbid. You're marrying somebody because you want to merge two into one with that person, or you think you do. And a lot of the problems are because you never really understood what that meant. So please call me for the free session so you can really understand this. It's easy to do, and if this is not the person you want to do it with, great. There are 8 billion people on the planet. Find another one, I'll help you.
Very encouraging. We can get our needs met. There you go. Now, I know that trust is such a big issue in relationships, and if a partner doesn't really trust you, what can be done that creates that more intimacy instead of more problems? So, for example, instead of going, let's say someone's out and going out on errands, and when you return, your partner quizzes you, and they wonder, where have you been? Why so long? That type of attitude.
So first of all, that's somebody who's really scared. I mean, I've been in relationships with men who, they weren't going to the grocery store and then going off with another girl, but there were enough times when they were going off with another girl. So that never would occur to me that someone wouldn't want to come back from the store and be with me if they were with me before they went to the store. You know, so because I don't have that kind of fear, I never did. So if you've got a partner who's so afraid that his or her need for affection and passion and love and companionship and all that can't be met in their relationship with you, then A, they should have left the relationship a long time ago. So just be clear about that. B, there's a lot you can do. When somebody says that to you, they're afraid and they need reassurance, your job is reassurance if you want to stay in the relationship. Oh, Bob, that's so sweet of you to want to be sure that I really love you and that I want to be with you and that there's nobody else that I want to be with. And I really regret that I was gone longer than you expected. And then you give them a big hug. And you have to do it really authentically. You can't do it like you're, phoning it in, because he'll get angry about that.
So this kind of relates with this question that I just asked you. What would you really say to a partner who doesn't trust you in that particular example with the errand taking time?
Well, it's all about reassurance. But at the same time, if you've reassured someone 93 times or 23 times and you still get that back, this is someone who's suffering from anxiety. This is, if it were a dog, you would call that separation anxiety. If it were a child, you would call it they don't want to go to school, they don't want you to leave them at the school, separation anxiety. It's the same thing with a boyfriend or a husband or a wife. So now you know that your partner suffers from separation anxiety, which is a form of anxiety. Call me and I will tell you exactly how to handle it. Or have them call me and I will tell you exactly how to handle it. Because it's a biochemical thing. And that's just the truth.
So that can be fixed and solved and...
Everything can be fixed and solved. There's not a thing that can't be fixed and solved besides death.
We'll find some solution there.
Howard Wills can fix death in many cases. I've seen him fix death in many cases. But forgive me, it's, above my pay grade.
Well, I know, Susan, that you've explained to us, you've said that the third reactive behavior, contempt, which is equally hopeless. Can you explain that for us?
So contempt is the lower right brain. It sounds a lot like the upper left brain, which is judging, but this one is loaded with emotion. So imagine somebody judging you, but crying and screaming and throwing plates at the same time, right? So it's the heavily emotional response of somebody who is that lower right brain person. And it really is a miserable experience, just miserable. And I remember I was traveling on business and I was staying in this fabulous hotel in Paris, and I had another boyfriend who was very moody and scared and I was so tired I kept leaning on the phone. All the things on the phone were on the handset, and I kept disconnecting the call and starting to go to sleep, and then he would call me and say, "You hung up on me, you must have someone else there." And, I regret that I actually let this guy do this. I mean, I guess because I probably had left him in charge of my cats in my apartment, so probably I thought I'd better calm him down. But that's such outrageous behavior. He was really scared, really insecure, had lots of biochemical stuff, had been abused by his father, all the people's qualities that are red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. And so I had to calm him down. It sounds as if you're really concerned that I want to get off the phone rather than I just have really bad jet lag and I just keep falling asleep. And you want to be sure that I love you and that I'm committed to you and that there's nobody else that I'm with either tonight or any other night, that I'm, committed to being your girlfriend. Do I understand you? And little by little, the guy calmed down, but he was 9,000 miles away from me, so it was tricky to calm him down that much. And I was in a fabulous hotel in Paris alone, and I really was alone, but it's a little hard for somebody to swallow if they don't know you.
Boy, he had quite an imagination.
Well, not hard to imagine, really. When you look out your terrace and the Eiffel Tower's right there, it's a pretty, dramatic thing.
Well, we won't talk about this now. No. So now would you please give us a few, let's say, phrases of how to really calm someone who is very sarcastic, perhaps about concerning somebody's weight?
So if you're in a relationship with somebody who remembers that when you married them, you weighed 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds less, this is going to be really familiar to you. And I had a client many years ago who said her husband wouldn't take her anywhere. He would not invite her to parties. He would not go to parties with her. He was shunning her, basically. And I looked around, what is it? And then I said, it sounds as if possibly you've gained some amount of weight during your marriage that your husband doesn't enjoy. And I've had a number of clients like this, and it's always 30 pounds. The guys in these cases would tolerate 20 pounds, but when it got to 30 pounds, they really just were upset. So, of course, part of the solution is if two have merged into one, then your partner looks at you far more than you look at you. So you want to really consider the benefits of meeting more of his or her needs for your being attractive and fit, and there's health to consider as well. But in the moment, right, in the moment this is happening, Linda, I know that when we got married, I only weighed, so if I'm a guy, let's say 160 pounds, a big guy. I only weighed 160 pounds, and I know you've mentioned a number of times that it's upsetting to you that I now weigh 185. And even though I'm 5'11", this is really disappointing because you loved the way I looked when I was much more fit. Is that right? And his wife, Linda, says, yes, it's really upsetting, and I don't know why, and I'm really worried about you, and you're not taking care of yourself, blah, 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 blah. So that's important because now it's about health. It's not about weight. It's not about aesthetics. So, Linda, it sounds as if you're really most upset because you want to be sure that I stay healthy and that you know that if I do more exercise and lose some weight and cut out the ice cream, that I would be healthier. Is that it? And she's really sarcastic and annoying and whatever. And eventually, if you just stay calm and you look to see what her feelings and her needs are, eventually she will get to that moment where she just stops and says, yes. And then you have to decide, are you interested in losing some weight? Because if you're interested in losing some weight, and it's a different conversation from if you just want her to chill and let you do your thing. So more later on that.
Oh my. I like that. That's a common issue. Now, the final reactive behavior is caused by the upper right brain. What is that behavior about?
They just want out when they get triggered. And you have to be so careful. If you're in a relationship with somebody who's a very upper right brain, you better put a seatbelt on them. Because those are the most difficult people to be in a relationship with. If you think the sarcastic, crying, screaming person is difficult, at least they're still there. At least they're still in the house. The upper right brain person just wakes up one morning and they've had enough. And that's the kind of people who you find out that you're getting a divorce because somebody serves you divorce papers. So the first thing you need to know is buyer beware. If that's the kind of person you're dating, beware. If that's the kind of person you're married to, beware. You hear stories about women who leave their family. They have to go find themselves, or they found themselves and they want to be yoga teachers or whatever. This is the upper right brain, the extreme upper right brain. So I can teach you how to calm them down, but ultimately if somebody is very upper right brain, remember that that's not what you want for a partner in any kind of venture. The lower left brain is the person you want as a partner. Gigi and I, who keep showing up to do our shows together twice a month, every year, year after year, year after year. That's the lower left brain in action. That's what you're looking for. So that's the best thing I can say about the upper right brain is beware.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That consistency, I really appreciate, Susan. Now, could you now give us an example of a partner who is really trying to run away from a conversation concerning money, and how you can get them, motivate them to discuss this issue with you?
Sure. Now, there are flavors of runaway. So the upper left person will just be very harsh and very hypercritical and just put down their foot, not want to discuss it. So dictatorial. With that person, you have to just really inch your way over a period of time. Let's say you want to go on an expensive vacation and your husband earns the money, all the money, and he doesn't think an expensive vacation is a good idea, or buying you a new car, or sending your daughter to an expensive, acting school, or any of those things. So you have to have a lot of time. Well, Bob, I know that when Janie dances, it really is something that you enjoy so much, and I think you loved watching her in the school play last year. Is that right? So little by little, you have to get him to acknowledge that he enjoyed the fact that his daughter danced. Then maybe a couple of days later, now you're talking about how, Janie just got this brochure from this really phenomenal dance school in New York, really famous one, the Joffrey Ballet, and it turns out they have a dance school, and they do have some scholarships, so we just would love to talk to you, Bob, about the possibility of having Janie apply and see if she would qualify for a scholarship. How does that sound? Because this is a guy who doesn't want to talk about money, right? So you have to start thinking about how to do this in a way that doesn't require a lot of money. That's a scholarship. And little by little, and a couple of days later, and a couple of days later, and a couple of weeks later. So if she's got to apply by whatever the date is, you've got to start 4 months early. Because if you start now, that's for a semester that starts 4 more months. The summer semester, it's too late already. You've got to figure out timing with your partner. And if it's somebody who's very emotional, then you have to just be very calm and do that same kind of thing. If it's somebody who tries to walk out of the room because, I told you, we're not doing that. Stop telling me what to do. And then just walks out of the room, not like the harsh person who gives you all the reasons, we don't have the money, blah, 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 but that just won't talk about it. Then you've got a real problem. As I said, that kind of person is very challenging. And if I were advising you and you were my client, I would talk to you about what could you do to earn some extra money so that you, the mom, could pay for your daughter's dance school education, because that's a much better strategy.
Wonderful strategy. Now, I know in just this brief couple of moments that another very challenging topic is for couples is parenting, and how a partner can really motivate and inspire the other to discuss the children, because I know that you also teach people how to mediate their own divorces, which may include parenting plans.
Again, this is about the two merged into one. At one point when I was a child, my mother motivated my father in order for them to stop arguing. She would be responsible for me, and she would make all of the decisions about me that were not medical, because he was a surgeon, and that not educational, because he was the brilliant of the two. So she said, let's just decide between ourselves what I'm going to be in charge of and what you're going to be in charge of. And it just seems that, obviously you're the medical guy and the educational guy, but decisions about whether she can wear lipstick at a certain age, or decisions about whether she can wear a certain dress or go to a certain party, those are things that I'm really good at, because I was that kind of a girl myself. So that's the kind of thing that I should decide if we don't want to keep arguing. And that's what they did, which was great. So my mother was obviously a natural mediator to some degree. The question you have to ask yourself is, what is your partner competent to be in charge of if you're going to divide the responsibilities? Otherwise, You have to merge into a unit where you appreciate one another's gifts, appreciate one another's differences, and together you make each and every decision. And that will take more time to get a decision about your son playing football or your, daughter going, to a sorority, but ultimately you'll have a much better relationship. So if you can do that, that's the way to go.
So highly informative once again, Susan. It's been wonderful, and just imagine, all of you viewers, how wonderful your life can be when you have these skills and you can really turn an argument into a disconnection back into that passion and love. So please do remember that everyone can transform their lives and relationships and their future. Now, also, Susan, I just want to remind you, she offers that 1-hour private telephone session for everybody. So I wouldn't hesitate, if you have some concerns, to contact her. She's more than willing to spend the time and energy. Now, to reflect on Susan Allan's column as the Love and Relationship Coach, this is in our Santa Barbara Family Life magazine, available online, www.sbfamilylife.com. Susan's new website, www.heartspacesolutions.com, and Susan's email, susan@susanallan.org, or that phone call, 805-695-8405, that 1 free hour, and Susan's YouTube, youtube.com/Susan Allan 2001. Now I'd like